PKN 262. We were just talking pre-show about topic ideas. So you watching Gemstone?
Yeah, like the Righteous Gemstones or something like that. It's last week. Andy and well, I guess everybody. I think even who's our other guest last week? I feel like a dick now. Shit.
Blame Truth.
Blame Truth. Yeah.
Yes.
They all blend together sometimes. But I think one of those two was saying you got to watch this HBO show, and it's got John Goodman in it, which for me is an immediate +10 because I love that guy. It would be +20, but it's skinny John Goodman, and I don't like that as much. I like my John Goodman fat, girthy, unhealthy, heart attack around the corner. And so it's this show where basically he and his sons, one of which is the guy from that raunchy baseball show, Danny McBride. Yeah, Danny McBride.
Uh-huh.
And then the other son is Adam Devine, the guy from Workaholics. I'm not sure if you've ever watched Workaholics.
I have.
That's silly.
They're
show.
Not actually workaholics.
They're not. No, it's an irony type, and it's really good so far. Basically, they are evangelical kind of, Popov kind of guys, where it's just, do you feel the Lord? Do you feel this and that kind of stuff? And already in the first episode, it's kind of just showing like the debaucherous side to their lives and the things they do that they don't totally put out front.
So they're knowingly scam artists.
They haven't revealed that yet.
Okay.
If I had to guess, like just hazard a guess after one episode, all three of them do believe it, but one of them is kind of faking, and then John Goodman and Adam Devine totally believe it. Or at least Adam Devine totally believes it. You can't tell with John Goodman yet. He hasn't gotten enough. You can tell he's a ruthless businessman, but you can't tell yet because
that leads So, when people believe in God that much and have confidence like that, I wonder what goes on in their internal monologue, right? I think it's safe to assume that they've never seen any undeniable evidence of God. Instead, they see, the sun shine through some tree leaves with, I think they're called Jesus rays. Or, it didn't rain on a wedding day, therefore God exists, or something like that. And I'm like, come on. In your heart of hearts, you're skeptical on this, right? Right? Because
it comes down it's just everybody has their own form of confirmation bias. And for them, it's shown in religion. Like for some people, it's news or politics or sports or whatever. Like if I'm I'm a big blues fan.
Right.
When I see, even a few years ago, when Patrick Kane, one of the all-star, one of the best American players of all time for the Chicago Blackhawks, he got accused of rape, and it was not credible at all. They ended up backing off because it was just a made-up lie, and it did suck for him. That's a tough thing, like we know from our guest last week that kind of thing can happen. So that was a much bigger stage. But even at the time when that came out, because I just don't like that team, I was like, figures. And then of course it comes out later that it's made up, and I'm like, well, yeah, but I probably knew that the whole time, mostly. But for these guys, it's religion.
I've done it.
When they genuinely see a toast that looks like the Virgin Mary in Mexico or whatever, they're not making it up. I don't think they're like, this is a real sign. The Lord, this is the little thing that the Lord gave me. Of course, why would he do that when he could make a rainbow or something, or make a comet with a nice little engraved note come down, is what we would think. But to them, that's more than enough. Bias has been confirmed.
If I took every naturally occurring W as proof that Woody was God, I'd see them all over the place. They show up in clouds, scratch marks in the ground, various footprints, probably. It's like animal footprints, of course. But in my heart of hearts, I would know that I'm not actually God because there's never been any evidence of such. But so I can't fathom buying that. But you laid it out pretty well, because I've had biases too. I think when I see politicians get accused of bad stuff, it's hard for me to jump straight to, no, everybody with a public presence gets some rape allegations now and then, don't they? People do it just for the fame and the fortune. And I'm like, really? I don't know. Why is this guy's 29 accusations so not credible, and this guy's 39. I don't remember how Bill Cosby had. So obviously credible. To me, I can't tell the difference. But, sometimes there's I want to believe. I don't know. And if you're talking about Trump in particular, I mean, he has a lot of quotes where you could suspect that he doesn't have respect for women.
Oh yeah, and see, you could. That's a perfect example.
Maybe I'm
you can
doing
look
it.
at one. You can look at something that he's said, and depending on what side you're on, you can go. He has no respect for women. He has no respect for women at all. That's clearly what is drawn from this. And then other people will look at it and go, well, actually, he's been a public figure whose kind of character and who he is has been this bloviating, off the cuff, loudmouth, arrogant fuck for like 35 years. And so two people can look at the same exact thing, and depending on their previous or existing biases, totally pull different things out of it. And so and then that's hard for everybody to do. It's really hard to because everybody wants to have a off the cuff, boom, that's my take, that's my decision, and I'm sticking with it. And they kind of set that anchor point. And then any other evidence you get that countermands that, you just kind of put up a shield and go, nope, decision made. And
if you do your best to be unbiased, that shield is permeable, but it's still there, right? Some evidence has a hard time getting through, and some is welcomed in. You said something that I really liked years ago. I was like, Taylor, you work in advertising, more or less. And does that make you not susceptible to advertising, being privy to all the tricks? And you're like, no, nobody is. Everyone gets bombarded with messages again and again and again until they become a kind of truth. Everyone gets awareness, and you can't be immune to advertising if you see ads.
Oh, of course, because so much of it is like a perfect example was I think the episode before Kyle got booted, where taken to prison, not booted.
Don't tell him, Taylor.
But it was, I think during that episode, we were talking, something came up with marketing and advertising came up, and I think Kyle said I think I'm immune to that. I'm immune to advertising. Yeah. And not an hour later, he was talking about how cool and rustic and just old-timey a Jack Daniels bottle looked, and how he purchased one because of the way it looked and the way it's been presented in movies, and the musing, semi-alcoholic but hardworking and diligent detective in that show takes a hard slug from a distinct shaped bottle and slams it down. No, I'm saying that now,
you're adding to it.
That little things like that was enough for Kyle to draw something out of it. Nobody is... The people that I think are most susceptible to advertising are the people who think they're above it because they don't have their guards up. They take things as they go and they internalize it without realizing. Meanwhile, if someone is on guard, in the same way that a paranoid person who's homesteading, in a weird way, actually is less susceptible to an apocalypse because they have a guard up. If you think that you're Mr. High Intelligence, High IQ, these ads don't get to me, you're the one that's you're getting taken.
I think I'm mostly immune to advertising, but for a very different reason. I have YouTube Red. I watch Netflix. I have ad block. It's just hard to reach me. Advertising campaigns coming. This is a while ago. I'm at the dentist or something, and one guy says it's hump day, and all the other receptionists start laughing, and I don't get it. And I'm like, they're like, it's the camel. You don't know, whatever Debbie from some, I don't know what the commercial was on. Yeah. Made hump day a big thing, and I was like, nah, I don't see as many ads as I did back when I had television and I didn't have YouTube Premium, YouTube Red, whatever it's called that removes ads.
Now, because so many companies are realizing that as an issue, they're just baking in advertising into shows more often. Like iRobot is an older movie from the early 2000s with Will Smith, but it's a good example of kind of an early adopter to that. Go back and watch that movie if you haven't in a while. Notice how many ad placements, how many product placements, how many scenes start with an emblem of a car or with a certain drink or with a certain Coca-Cola or a Pepsi, just whatever it is. It's insane. And so I saw a clip on Twitter today. I've never watched 13 Reasons Why. It's that ridiculous show about a teenager who kills himself.
I did watch that. I actually liked it, but carry on.
Oh, I'm making fun of it without ever watching it. But that's par for the course for me. But I saw a clip on Twitter today of that show, and someone was like, "This is a straight up what the fuck is the website builder that sponsors us? Squarespace.
Squarespace. Oh, really?
It was a straight up Squarespace commercial as they're like sitting there trying to like make a plan to make a website, and the guy's like showing the interface and how easy it is to use to the other characters, and it's like, are you shitting me? Is this what entertainment's going to be now?
Because I probably fell for it. I had no idea that they were doing that.
This was in season 3. Yeah. So if you haven't seen that one,
I didn't know there were 3 seasons.
I didn't either till I saw it.
But another Will Smith movie, help me. It's a zombie movie. Where's Kyle when you need him? But they're not really zombies, but they can't go in the light. They're like zombie vampires.
Oh, I Am Legend. Yeah.
Yes, I Am Legend. My goodness, like opening shots of Will Smith in a Ford Mustang, as if that's an apocalypse car. Just like zooming around. Fuck, I can't say words. What is it when you grinding around a corner, sliding around?
Drifting.
That's what I'm going for. Thank you so much. Yeah. He's like drifting around corners in a Mustang, and later he hops into an Explorer. And like you said, like close-ups of a Ford emblem, and they zoom out to reveal the rest of the car as it does cool stuff driving around. And this is an apocalypse situation, right? And not just like... It's an extreme apocalypse with zombie vampires wrecking everything and having murdered almost everybody. But damn, the car looked good. I guess his hobbies are survival and detailing cars.
Yeah. Because thank God I found this clean current year Ford Explorer. Yeah. And this is the LE, the limited edition one. Wow. Man, now I can have air conditioned ass cheeks as I mow down vampires and stuff. And it's ridiculous. Because that's real things. Like when maybe some people don't know this, when you watch a show or a TV show, movie, anything, and you see, like, let's say they're on a bathroom counter and he has Rogaine there, and he has Bayer brand aspirin, and he has Crest white toothpaste. Those companies all paid for that. They didn't just go, throw a generic toothpaste, throw a generic thing in there, throw this. Like, there are companies that will reach out to consumer products companies and go, hey, there's a show that's going to be on this, and we have an opening for a couple bathroom scenes. We have an opening for a couple closet scenes. Would you like your product to be involved in that? Because
they make that happen? Because, I mean, the
absolutely they do.
If I needed to stock a pantry or a medicine cabinet, the easiest thing to do would be to run to CVS. So they have to go out of their way to get, like, I don't know, a bottle that kind of looks like Bear but isn't, to stock with that. You really think that they always go the hard way if they're not getting paid?
Oh, no, it's not hard.
No.
Like, because like a company as big as like J&J or P&G, this is a pittance to them. This is like something that they would get an email in their marketing department and go, hey, do you want fucking No More Tears shampoo and a scene in this zombie movie as the woman is washing her hair, and you can see it in the background on the little shower caddy for 3 scenes or something. And they'll go, yeah, whatever, sure. Yeah, we'll pay $12,000 for that. Okay, sure. Yeah, we'll do that. Like, and so that's why part of the reason is, believability. You don't want these over the top, different, weird brands, and so they're going to reach out to those kind of mainstay J&J, P&G, large brands. But like, yeah, there are no mistakes when it comes to that. When you see a Coca-Cola or a Pepsi or even smaller things, like they pay for that. Huh. And so and that's something I had no idea until I kind of got into this industry and on behalf of some clients would get inquiries about that. And I was like, holy shit. Everything I see on TV is carefully constructed from the bottom up, all those scenes when it comes to products, at least, because, they're not going to turn down opportunities to make money.
Now that I think about it, I did this dancing competition years ago. It was cool. All the things we used were from a prop department. Like, I read a newspaper in one of the dances. All the headlines, they were like real articles that you could read. They weren't interesting, and they weren't, though they didn't do 2 things. They didn't date you, although I suppose the newspaper at all is dating now, but like it didn't mention who the current president was or anything that would help you associate a date. And it also didn't say anything that could be remotely controversial in the paper. So because even today's current events, I don't know, you could write like, Trump does this at the G7, or, Trump misses climate change meeting, right? Half the people reading that will probably be offended at that title.
And they'd figure out the time. Yeah.
The time too. Yeah. But So the time was one motivating factor, and the other thing was that they didn't want anything in there about like a death or a politician that would make anyone not like it for some reason. So
Yeah,
it was all weather.
and so now, like for the bigger companies, it's sometimes even different. Where like let's say Miramax says we've got 6 movies coming out that we have a bundle of, and each one of them has an opportunity for you to promote something in a closet space or whatever. So we're coming to you, fucking
Old
Tommy
Navy.
Hilfiger or whatever, or Old Navy or whatever, like Thursday Boots or some other company. So it's really interesting that so much extra thought goes into it, and it's all just to make money. And so like even when you skip all of the ads, you're still getting advertised to.
You mentioned John Goodman earlier. You prefer fat John Goodman. So
Always.
to me, he lost weight and got old together. And I always wonder, like people say, oh, the presidency ages you. I don't doubt that might be true. I think it's a stressful job. But I also think that a lot of times 4 or 8 years have passed and that guy was going to age in either case. You know, some are outrageous like Lincoln. But Obama, for example, he might have looked like that 8 years later anyway. He doesn't look so horrible. I wonder, John Goodman, he lost weight and got old. What does fat John Goodman look like? Did he age a lot better? This like alternate universe John Goodman that didn't lose the weight? Does he not?
His face, I mean, his heart and his arteries and all that doesn't age better, but his face does definitely.
Yeah?
Like he lost weight at the worst time. Like if a 40-year-old, or let's say even 35 or 40, let's say they're 100 pounds overweight and they lose it. Sure, they don't have the skin elasticity of a 22, 25-year-old or whatever, but they can still get it back together. They can get it going. When you're 67 or whatever, like John Goodman, and you lose 120 pounds, all it does is make all of your wrinkles 100 times deeper and make your throat pouch look even more impressive than Mitch McConnell's.
Those are bold words, Taylor.
It is, but Mr. Goodman is really stepping up to the plate here with that throat pouch. So, yeah, if you're going to lose weight as a big fat adult, do it before you get too old.
It's pretty
you still
young,
got some collagen.
too. I'm basing this on how women's bellies bounce back. Like, you see these girls in their, I'll say, 25. Dude, you can't tell they were pregnant a few months later. They have a baby at 35. You know, their bellies are never stock again.
Yeah, they're never stock.
They're always aftermarket or something.
I mean, that's when women go rotten. I've said that many times.
They just don't bounce back the same way when they're 35 and they have the kid. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
have you seen? Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, this is not that interesting. I was talking about the meme, the Popeyes chicken sandwich versus the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich, and people, you are high as a goddamn kite if you think Popeyes can hold a candle to the Chick-fil-A sandwich. The Chick-fil-a sandwich is just better.
Is this your inner white girl talking? Like it?
This is my inner consumer. So, you know, first of all, you go to Chick-fil-A, they're just stoked to have you there. Oh my God, thanks for coming to Chick-fil-A and ordering our sandwiches. We love you. That's how they are at Chick-fil-A. At Popeyes, you get a surly person with dirty fingernails, you know, who's got a bunch of tattoos, and you don't want to, or at least the Popeyes near me is what it's like.
St. Louis
and
Popeyes.
St. Louis Popeyes. And I got a Popeyes chicken sandwich to test it out, like soon after they released. And you know, when like you get like a chicken sandwich sometimes and there's just surrounding areas where you'll bite into it thinking it's chicken, but it's just an enormous hunk of breading.
Oh,
and then you're eating bread on bread on bread. And it's just not good. The chicken was dry. There were too many of those breading bites. I've eaten 1,000, well, realistically, probably 100 Chick-fil-A sandwiches in my life. I've never had a dry bite. I've never had that. It's always juicy. It's always good. They do the Kyle approach or whatever, where he says they soak them in pickle juice or a pickle brine or whatever to keep the moisture in there, and that's peanut oil fried. It's just a higher quality sandwich. And now these two companies are memeing off each other, which Chick-fil-A not stoked about having their name associated with Popeyes. Popeyes is doing line dances in their corporate office. Like, yes, we're in the same sentence with Chick-fil-A.
Really?
They're going to associate our quality with Chick-fil-A. Oh, because Chick-fil-A wins like America's favorite fast food restaurant like every year. Because it's just, you know, it's got good service and it's it is a fucking fast food chicken sandwich. If you go to a real restaurant and order a chicken sandwich, it's probably going to be better than Chick-fil-A or Popeyes or any of those. But as far as fast food goes, Chick-fil-A is the best.
I hardly ever go to Chick-fil-A. There's a couple issues. One, I usually eat fast food when I have a long drive. That would be, if I'm going like to Florida or Georgia or something. And that happens on Sunday an inordinate amount of times. I almost always come home on a Sunday. So it's like, even though it's only 1 in 7 days, it seems to be half of my driving days. Yeah. And I don't know. They're just not on my radar somehow. Like I see Wendy's as the one to go to, and I'm not reprogrammed yet.
Yeah.
But Wendy's I have been to both, and I thought of Popeyes more as the like more seasoning, a little like black grandmother's food, and Chick-fil-A as fast food. Maybe. I don't know.
I think of both of them as fast food. Like when I go to Popeyes, like if I go to Popeyes, I want chicken. Like I want a chicken leg, chicken wing, chicken breast or something. If I go to Chick-fil-A, just give me the chicken sandwich. The one thing that Chick-fil-A does suck ass at, their fries are terrible. They are always floppy. Those waffle fries, 1 in 100 are crispy and nice. Like if they need to get tear a page out of McDonald's book on French fries. Stop trying to be Mr. Fancy Pantsy over there with your waffle fries and just make good fries. I never even order their meals. I only get their entrees because I'll eat 2 of their fries and go, didn't you learn last time that these soggy pieces of shit aren't worth eating? It's just empty calories, not even the dopamine hit.
Yes, yeah. Look, if I'm going to sin, it better be worth it. I better get something in return, not just soggy bullshit French fries.
Yeah, I've done that where I eat like half of a Chick-fil-A container of fries, and it's like, I'm 300 calories into this, and I'm not even happy.
Yeah, you don't want that.
What a waste. But yeah, maybe someone can convince me otherwise. I don't think I'll be convinced otherwise unless I go back to Popeyes and decide to get in the chicken sandwich, and it's way better. But I'm never going to do that because I go to Popeyes when I want fried chicken. And even then, if I want fried chicken and I'm in the area, I'm going to go to Church's Chicken over Popeyes because Church's is just way fucking better than Popeyes. I don't know if you have Church's where you are.
I've heard of it. I don't think I've been to it, though.
Yeah. If you enter a Church's Chicken and you feel in danger, you're in a good one.
Oh, that's how I feel about Waffle House.
Yeah, there was one like in the city, and I'd like go in there and just be like, head on a swivel. Head on a swivel. I'm in there. Then you get the chicken.
Can I have that seat with my back to the wall and my face to the door?
Yeah, I'm like Liam Neeson and Taken. And I'm just in the back corner making sure I can scope out the whole thing. But yeah, that was my take on the fast food, little fast food battle. Not that it's even that interesting.
So Boogie 2899. I actually like the guy. He's been on the show a bunch of times, and I don't know. I want good things for him. He seems all right.
But there's news surrounding him. I don't know what's up.
It's just sort of a slow burn of YouTube hot water. Now, I'll lay it out through my lens of bias. But so he was on YouTube for a long time. People loved him, right? And they called him the Mr. Rogers of YouTube. And he would just say good things and present the best version of himself. And I think I could maybe relate to this to some extent. And then he went on Twitch. And somehow on Twitch, he was, I don't want to say a real version of himself. I almost want to say the worst version of himself. Like the PKA version of me. And so he's on Twitch and they take his worst clips and present that as, we found out who Boogie really is. And like, I think he went to a bed and humped it and said that's how he treats whores. And he dated.
It's just funny.
I guess, yeah.
Actually, it depends on what kind of figure you built yourself into. If me, you, or Kyle said that, they'd be like, that's a tongue-in-cheek joke. They're not doing that. But you're right. With Boogie building up the kind of Mr. Rogers appeal, for him to suddenly become that is probably shocking to his fans. Yeah, continue. Sorry.
It's the shock. It's the turn. People are upset because it's like they pulled back the curtain, found a different version of Boogie, and they're very mad at him. And on Reddit, there's this thread that details like every bad thing he's ever done painted in the worst light. Some of them wouldn't even register as not cool unless you put it in the context of a couple of other things he's done or said. And now his edgy joke is, pure evil, who Boogie exposed. and he's been losing subs. Now, like you lose subs
Oh.
or whatever, but I want to say I'll look up the numbers.
I'll look up Social Blade on him.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it really quick.
He's lost 41,000 in the last month. Wow.
Right, that's a big deal. And it's been a couple of months too. Like even if it was just last month was the only bad one, then that would be, I don't know, like somehow a different situation. But he lost. Sorry, I'm looking in the wrong spot.
He hasn't consistently gained subs
in May. He lost
since like April 18.
In May, he lost almost 6,000. In June, he lost almost 15,000. And in July, he lost almost 30,000. And now he's on pace for over 40. And that, dude, that's a lot. That's a long time. And these are big numbers. So people are like, I want to say they're leaving mad. You know, when you lose 4,000 subs a day, which is at like the high end of what he's done, then like, I don't know. It's not casually moving on like every YouTuber has. Subs casually moving on, and then maybe new subs casually back.
It's like an aggressive unsubscribing campaign where people are like actively, fuck you. Like
it makes Boogie kind of interesting to me. Like I want to know what he's doing. I feel like he continues to feed the flame of the negative people. Like he hasn't really cleaned up and started being good. And I feel like it's a semi-conscious self-destruction that he's got going on. And that's the core of what I'm finding fascinating. Boogie is going on long rants that he knows hurt him and doing it anyway. Boogie's doing like
on Twitch.
Yeah, on Twitch. But then it gets clipped and it gets uploaded to like live stream fails, or it just becomes another little nugget for this copy paste about him that details like the 50 things he's ever done wrong. That's I guess he was a sugar daddy to this woman who you could call a prostitute-ish. I don't know. Like,
I think that was the story he told on PKA, wasn't it?
Did he talk about it on PKA?
Maybe a different woman, but I think so.
Anyway, she was, I guess I don't know if you call him an ex-John or if you call her a jilted ex-girlfriend or whatever, but they've taken her side of it and turned it into like the worst possible thing. Like, for example, I think she was a cam whore. I bet there's a better word for that, but let's roll with it.
No, let's be real here.
And he didn't like it. So he would be like, no, stay with me. No, skip that. And she's like, hey, I got to go. This is how I earn money. If you're not okay with that, then why are you with me? And he's not okay with it because he likes her or he's envious. This is at least the lens I see it through.
Mm-hmm.
But they make him into this controlling asshole who doesn't want to let her earn a living. And it's like, but her living is kind of sort of cheating on him. I think that's the emotion that he's going for when he says, why don't you stay with me? And, but they paint it into like the worst possible way. And anyway, I'm seeing Boogie on the second half of his YouTube bell curve, like so many people have. And I'm wondering, like, how do you feel about this? What's your plan? Are you going to try and make your bell curve, or get a second bell curve? It happens. It's unusual, but it happens.
Yeah.
Do you have any other job skills? Do you have enough money? Like,
not after the divorce. I wouldn't guess.
I thought that. I wasn't going to say it out loud, but it was in my head as well. Yeah, I'm putting together the things that he said publicly. He said he was almost a millionaire and then he lost half in the divorce. You can estimate his net worth from there. Maybe it's back up a touch and he's just crossed 500. Which
it's still not a retirable amount of money.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, I wonder what kind of stresses he's feeling. Are these stresses leading him to make more what seem to be mistakes? Or is he going to do a rebound on the hated side of this equation? Maybe the next Boogie is not the internet's Mr. Rogers. It's the next Dark Side Phil. Maybe. I'm super curious about what's going on inside his head.
So are the big things the cam whore thing and the like the silly pillow humping video? I'm trying to figure out what else there was. I'm looking on his subreddit for whatever the post is.
The big thing is he's not who he said he was. and then everything else in isolation isn't so awful, right? But there's a facet of his personality that is a 4chaner, and he was on 4chan before he was on YouTube. That's part of his home. And so when they see that little side of him, that like sort of angry incel, misogynistic, whatever, like not so Mr. Rogers, love everyone. He tells a story and says, someone broke into my house once. And you know what I did? I gave him a ride home. That guy was having a hard time. And I'm so nice that I help out people who attempt to, who do home invasions against me. And that's like, wow, Boogie, you're so wonderful. And then they find out that isn't the only version of him. And they feel cheated. And
they feel like he's put out a PR curated version, and then it took their own investigation to be like, wait a second, this isn't the guy that's been presented to me for the last X number of years. So
right.
That's understandable.
Yeah, it's all understandable, but it's to me, like, there's a lot of positive things happening in his life, right? He's lost a bunch of weight. He's got the new teeth. There's a whole new him. He's single, which I don't think it was his choice, but like he could be living the best life. And instead, he's living probably the worst life he's had in a long time, right? He was probably happier being loved at 500 pounds than he is right now. And I just wonder, like, how's he doing? He okay? Why does he keep doing this? What's happening in your head? Is this a version of suicide that you're doing when you just keep this up? I feel like he's
like self-destructive behavior.
Some people are cutters. Some people are scratchers. This is his version of self-harm, I think. When he goes on Twitch and says things that he knows harms him, that he knows are going to come back to get him, but he somehow finds it irresistible, therapeutic, something. And I wonder what's happening in there.
It probably feels cathartic to him. Like if his true self is the more offensive, making 4chan jokes and everything, then it's got to be exhausting to try and keep up a facade of, Mr. Rogers-esque behavior. Like, and also like,
do people have one true self though? Like, no. I'm going to paint this on you. Forgive me. The version of you at work isn't fake. That's just professional Taylor. Then there's a version of you around your family who might be different. And when you're alone with your girlfriend, who could be a different one. And I would hope the PKA one is only here. Right. Yeah. and
no, this is how I behave all the time.
Right. So none of this is fake. It's just people behave, appropriately for the environment that they're in. And Boogie behaves inappropriately, or it behaves in a way on Twitch that he knows hurts him. And I feel like he's a cutter, but he does it with a mic and a video camera.
Maybe maybe he's in like a cycle of not feeling like he deserves success in any way, and so he self-sabotages. Or maybe it's just kind of the whole house of cards crumbling down, where it's like he's just fucking tired of being more wholesome than he feels he actually is, and now he's kind of throwing that by the wayside. I don't know. I don't watch nearly enough Boogie content, and by nearly enough I mean I don't watch any Boogie content, and so I don't know what his little quirks and everything are. I do know that it seems like every time I see a tweet from him, which is the only, like, I follow him on Twitter, so I'll see, like, every once in a while he'll have a take. Like, he seems to be obsessed with trying to appease everyone at the same time, and in doing so, not just appeasing no one, but actively pissing people off. Because there is a level of centrism that you can see in people sometimes, where it's like, you're being a bad faith centrist right now. You're taking the center position for the sake of doing it so that you have plausible deniability for any criticism that may come from your take. And then I think we talked about him with him on the show. I think I even said something to him last time he was on where I'm like, Boogie, you got to stop the fence sitting. Go hard one direction, or say nothing, or just, because then at least you're going to get people's genuine response and go, oh, okay, look, he may actually have a belief about this. But going, hey, guys, just throw my hat into the ring. Everybody's bad equally right now. And it's like, maybe sometimes that is the correct take.
I march with LGBTQT, but don't want marriage rights for them. That's an actual stance. And it's like,
I did see that. Yeah, I saw somebody tweet that out. Yeah,
I'm with you. I find the fence sitting to be a certain kind of lack of courage. And there's some honest fence sitters, right? Like I'm
Fair.
pro-choice, but look, I kind of see the pro-life side, right? Like I'm not happily pro-choice. I just look at, sometimes I find that's the way to land.
I'm in the same boat with you. Yeah.
Okay. Trump and his China stuff. Man, I hope he wins the trade war. I hope we win the trade war, right? I don't know if he's doing it well, but I felt like someone had to try. That's right. That's a little fence city, I think. But what he does, man, every single issue, he tries to find a way to have no one disagree with him. And at some point, it's infuriating.
Yeah. It comes off as disingenuous. Like, see, that's a good way to say it. It's not the fence sitting in and of itself, or the centrism. You know, I'll say centrism because fence sitting has an inherent like negative connotation, but it's not that inherent like the fence sitting. It's the frequency of it, I think, where if every once in a while somebody who you're listening to spit out hot takes goes, honestly, guys, I really fucking hate both sides here. Like, if that's not a consistent thing, they'll go, you know, I disagree, but I see what you're saying. These people both suck. But if every fucking issue, every single time is right down the middle, can't say this because I don't want to offend these people. I hate the SJWs, but I don't want to offend them, you know, and I don't want to hurt these people over here. So I'm going to say this in a you know, a mealy mouthed way. It's like over time, it comes off as actively insulting to your fans because it's saying to them, I don't respect your intelligence enough that you can differentiate that what I'm saying is my true belief, or it's a, you know, kind of just an amalgamation of what I think you guys want me to say.
He said on our show at one point that he was like Rick from Rick and Morty, and he was just a nihilist who didn't care how things worked out, and that's why he was so centrist on every issue. And I'm like, the fuck? Like, you're Rick? You're a Rick? You're telling me you're a Rick? Like a super genius who just sees beyond everything to the point where you can't care? Are you Dr. Manhattan too? Jesus Christ, who do you think you are?
A Rick. That is funny. It's like, I see myself as a Gandalf of sorts.
Thank you. Yeah.
Above it all entirely, and yet more powerful than you could imagine.
And 900 years old. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
So like that's the real thing. Like, he would get a lot better feedback if he would quit the centrist fence sitting. You know, sometimes if that's his honest take, go for it, man. Say what you honestly think, but don't look to your followers and try and garner what you think they want you to say and then reproduce a bastardization of what that is, because you're going to get it wrong and they're going to see through it and they're going to call your ass out from both sides. And then because you're very sensitive to that, you're going to respond. And when you respond to that and say, I didn't mean it by this, I didn't mean it by that, all that shows is weakness. And the people who know that they got to rise out of you by responding to that are going to respond to the next one and pile on. Like, it's a cycle that you're putting yourself in. Just stop being political on Twitter.
Showing weakness is an interesting thing. Like, sometimes an apology video gives people what they need. Sometimes an apology invites them to double down and triple down and never let it go. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting to see how that lands. You know, like Trump, he almost always doubles down. That's his go-to move. That's his instinct. And I want to say it almost always works. There are a few examples through my lens anyway, like the Charlottesville thing, both, you know, good people on both sides. Then he doubled down. I can't quote it, but he didn't back off it enough. And that kind of burnt him. I'm coming up short on examples. Usually double down, you know.
Yeah, no, it's
Mexico's sending their rapists and murderers. And he's like, they are. And it's like, win.
It's like, yeah, a lot of people crossing there are criminals. And people are like, well, shit, okay. Because like the reason that you have to do that in a lot of situations and double down is because any sort of apology is going to be seized on as an admission of guilt. Mm-hmm. You can't apologize and go, I didn't mean it this way. I didn't do this and that, because the people who wanted you, you know, drawn and quartered already got what they wanted. They got a sorry from you, which means that you admit you're wrong. That's why you're not, and it's not just Trump who does this. A lot of politicians who are more savvy or people, public speakers, business people, like usually double down and don't admit fault. And whether or not you're wrong, you may be wrong, but don't do it. And so he makes that mistake continuously. And sometimes it'll be like, he'll say his hot centrist take, and then I'll see like 4 minutes later, he'll have like a quasi apology clarification above it. It's like, oh man, come on, dude. Like, DM me before you tweet. And I would have said hard pass on both of those.
Boogie, Don't.
No, don't GMA.
Can you do an Asian accent?
No, Boogie, what you want to do is you want to tweet at prominent blue checks and call them cunts. Yeah, you're gonna hop on in there and call Trevor Noah gay. Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, have you been watching I don't know if it's true, but there's a poll out that's kind of not consistent with the others, implying wrong, but who knows? It's fun to watch because now Biden's in a 3-way tie with Sanders and Warren.
Yeah, I didn't see that. I knew Biden was tanking because
Did he do something? Is there an event?
He's just really bad by himself. By himself, he comes off as a blithering retard.
Okay, that's more extreme than I see it, but here's what I do see. I see a guy who's losing his edge because of age. And by the way, presidency's like 2 years from now, a year and a half. So he's not going to be younger in 2021 if he were to get the job. So that's one issue. And two, he's kind of gaffe prone. So between him, there's a certain kind of lisp that really old people, 70-year-olds can get that I get sensitive to. And when all of a sudden they don't have S's anymore and it gets weird, I'm like, man, and too much saliva happening.
Yeah. I'm like, at that shit in the corner of their mouths.
I'm wildly conscious of both things in my own mouth right now. Like, how's my saliva level? How are my S's? And so when Biden slips into what is like any other 76, 77-year-old dude does, it reminds me of what he's got going on. And then he's just gaffe prone. And his main appeal is, but I can win. That's no one's inspired by Biden. No one is like, oh, yes, just jerking off to the idea of Obamacare with minor revisions. Go, Biden. Please do that for us. Like he's not. No one is inspired by what Biden brings to the table.
No.
They're just buying into the idea that he's the most likely guy to win. If you take that away, if suddenly he's second in the polls, if suddenly he starts losing states, his goose is cooked. And I find that, I watch this partly because I like politics, but the chess of it, I've said a million times. And I'm watching these pieces move and like, man, if Biden's not leading the polls, he doesn't make a comeback. There's no enthusiastic Biden supporters who jump back on that train. The only reason he's winning is because he's winning.
Yeah, so, nobody's stoked on Biden. Like you can always tell who like the media tries to prop up and like give that extra edge. Like someone they clearly don't want to be given an edge is Tulsi Gabbard. She and Andrew Yang are kind of gaining ground slowly in their own way, but they're not propped up there. The two that the media want to prop up are Harris and Biden. Harris is not looking good. Her criminal record or whatever, her prosecutor record is not gonna pan out for
a little different, but carry on.
Yeah, it's totally different. Her criminality her
criminal record.
Really
you're thinking of Hillary and Trump.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of every other fucking politician. And then Biden is just pathetic at this point. Like he was basically grabbed in 2008 because they're like, all right, we got this guy. Obama, he's charismatic and he doesn't have a long enough history in politics for him to have done anything ridiculous. He can be whatever we want him to be, but we need an anchor for him so that people who are hesitant or worried see, that guy will keep him down to earth. He won't go too far left or too far this way or that way. And Biden was kind of that guy.
In particular, I think there was an inexperience question with Obama.
Yeah.
So they grabbed a guy who looked like he solved the experience question or answered the experience question.
Like, I think in the next couple months, it's going to become apparent that Biden cannot beat Trump. It's going to be, if they try to run Biden, I swear, it's going to be the exact same thing as 2016. Nobody except for like super feminists, just for the sake of like, yay, ladies, wanted Hillary. Even like my friends who are more left leaning at the time were like, just like, God, man, I mean, she fucking sucks. I wanted Bernie and no more Bernie. And
Hillary
they're going to get roasted.
The inspiration gap between Trump and Hillary was huge. I think there were a lot of people who were inspired by Trump, who saw Trump as a person sticking their middle finger up to the establishment, right? And they found that inspiring. Hillary, on the other hand, she was prominent. She's qualified. She's got the background you'd want a president to have, and her senator and secretary of state, but not inspiring. No, she was just the Biden of 2016, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she sucked.
But
And,
I again, it's hard. We were talking about advertising. It's hard for me to not see my own bias or to see my own bias. But
mhm.
I'm here thinking that Trump is one of the most easily defeated presidents in my memory. Like he's
He might be. It very well might be. Number one, his base is very disenchanted because he hasn't kept any of the big promises that he said he would. He's actively been worse on a lot of things than he said he would. He's sucked. Like what's he going to rely on? The judges? Like, because literally, if you're a Trump voter, that's one of the only things you have to fall on as well. I guess him appointing judges is better than Hillary, which true. I'd rather have Trump appoint than Hillary. But even then, he's not
really.
he didn't do anything to really rile up his base and everything. He didn't handle immigration. He's handling trade in the way he can. He didn't get the North Korea thing. Well, that's not fair to put on his shoulders. Nobody's handled that. But regardless, he hasn't done what his supporters wanted. And so his base is going to not be that enthused. The Democratic base has a real problem because no matter what they do, half of their base, half, is not going to like it. And if they put Biden in there, those young people are going to say fuck right off the same way they did last time when Bernie got screwed. And so if they put Bernie or Warren in, I think they beat Trump because enough older Democrats who don't like how far left Warren and Sanders are, they're going to hold their nose and go anyone but Trump and they'll vote. Whereas I think young people are still optimistic enough about it that they'll say, no, I'm not voting for an establishment Biden fuck or whatever. Like, I could be totally wrong, but if they want to win, I think they run Bernie.
I think the Democrats are preaching to each other the lesson from 2016, which is, hey, whoever wins this, a lot of you aren't going to like it. Start getting over that now, a year and a half in advance. I want you to practice a little bit, voting for your second favorite, because you might end up doing that.
But then I see it both ways because then like I watched a clip on the Democratic debate and they were like, it was one of the early ones. I guess we're still early. And they were like, who of you think that, healthcare should be given for free to illegal immigrants and that illegal immigration should be changed to a civil issue more like a parking ticket than a real crime? And every one of them, I think, sans Biden, raised their hand. And so older Democrats are going to look at that and go, well, hell, I really hate this Trump guy, but I don't really want to bankrupt our country. You want us to offer free healthcare to illegal immigrants and then treat it as not a crime? You know what's going to happen? We're going to become South America in 3 days. Like, I don't like that. And so that might scare him back away from voting for. I really don't know. The Democratic Party is so divided right now by age, like as far as age lines. So it's hard to even tell.
The healthcare one. So I don't love what you said, but I also, it's hard to implement look, if you want someone to walk in and get healthcare, then you can't like check their cards before they get it. They're emergency situations. But let's set that aside. The one that bothers me is the student loan stuff. There's a lot of people running saying, man, we'll just get America to pay your student loans off for you. Won't you love it? And I'm like, what? That's crazy. Maybe. I think if you were to offer American scholarships, right? Where it's like, hey, you know what? Right now, the barrier to being a nurse, an engineer, an attorney, or an accountant, dare to dream, is whether your father was wealthy. We're going to make it so that a decent chunk of Americans can pursue these careers if they're worthy. And if there was an American scholarship that did that opened the door to become a certified public accountant for a smart young man or woman, then I wouldn't be opposed to that. But it's like, a lot of college debt, these loans, if people don't know this, it's not the tuition that we're talking about. It's the living expenses. It's the fact that they went 4 years just living off debt. And now they're like, yeah, shit. I wish I had lived a cheaper life. I wish that I had chosen a cheaper school. I wish that you didn't maximize it because it was all tomorrow money and you thought you'd be richer than you turned out to be. Mm-hmm. We had a Filthy Robot on the show, and he was like, man, I went to college and, I didn't make much money with my degree. It's like, right. You should have chose accounting. Maybe you chose a degree that lined up with your passions, but it didn't line up with a career. And now you have debt, or I don't know if he has debt, but, didn't turn out to pay. Those are the decisions we make. And
I feel
why does America bail out student loans? seems wrong.
Yeah, I mean it's. I'd rather bail out student loans than bail out all the banks and automobile manufacturers again. But like the whole student loan thing, like I get it that people made bad decisions. Generally, people are very young when they do this, and you do not get a good financial education in American public schools. They don't tell you, and the companies giving you these loans have a vested interest in getting you to take as much as possible. They want you to take as many loans as you can and get you just basically be a debt slave the rest of your life. And like you can't, even bankruptcy doesn't get you out of student loan debt. Like there's no way to escape
That's fair.
it. Yeah, it fair enough. Like, but it is exploitative that these huge multi-billion-dollar companies take advantage of young American people in order to bolster their own bottom line.
I almost go the other way on that, and let me lay it out. Just in fast forward, the not paying it back thing. There's three kinds of loans. There's mortgage, like collateral back loans, where if you don't pay it, they can get their money back by taking the house and selling it. That's how that works. There's unsecured loans, I think. There's like a credit card. And the things you buy on that are like electrician services and restaurant food and things that they can't get back when the interest rate is really high if you don't pay it back. And then there's student loans. Student loan is another thing they can't seize. You know, if you get your education, then don't pay it off. They can't like take that and sell it like they can your house. So you would think the interest rate would be really high like it is on other unsecured purchases, but it's not. It's a really low interest rate. And the reason is they have special protections that prevent you from getting out of paying it back. If you could get out of paying back student loans, then the interest rates would have to be really high. And probably a lot of people would do that. They're like, why do I pay back this loan for 30 years when I could just go bankrupt for 7 and have the problem be behind me?
Yeah.
And so that's why they're as high as they are. And if you say, well, they should have never given this loan to that person, that was unkind of them to let them make a bad decision, then I say, ooh, because the other phrasing of that is, I'm taking away your opportunity. Taylor, did you get into Harvard? It's expensive. You need a big loan. But you know what? I think you're making a bad decision. So I won't loan you all the money you need for your education. That's the other side of that coin, that you're taking away opportunities from people because they're not born with money that people who were born with money have. So
I understand what you're saying. It seems like the problem starts before any of this, though, is that the government got involved in the education system, public and private, with the kind of doling out of student loans. And then because the institutions themselves know that they can charge whatever the fuck they want now because they're handing out loans like fucking candy to people. Like at some point, this student loan bubble has to burst the same way the housing bubble burst in 08, and the same way the housing bubble is going to burst again. How many months did they wait before they're like, no, we figured out subprime loans this time. We got it. And then they just started doing it again. Like we really are like, we're all like, it seems like the whole system is set up to make people debt slaves for their entire life.
Yeah. But the only thing is my core disagreement with what you said is, instead of making people debt slaves, they're just opening the door, and some walk through it and some don't. There are probably most people listening to this are not drowning in student debt.
Hopefully not. Yeah.
Yeah. But some are. And the ones that are really drowning, because people exaggerate the cost of college. You know, they're like, man, it's $100,000 a year for med school, maybe. But it's not actually $100,000 a year. You know, and if you get into your state school where it's government assisted, then it's like what, 8 or 12 grand a year for just the tuition part, not the room and board. Like it's not that expensive. It's expensive, but it's like you're making it out like $100,000 a year and you're $400,000 in debt. What were you living it up? Did you rent
you're right about
townhouse?
And that's why it's like the same way that you shouldn't be able to give booze to a 16-year-old at a store. You shouldn't be able to set up an 18-year-old for a life of, failure because they went, I need $140,000 so I can go to this in-state school and also live in this really cool bungalow with my friends. And
I solved it.
Like,
then what they need? Independent loan counselors. That would be the thing, right? They just need a Woody in their life to be like, dude, like you're going to University of Austin, but you're out of state. Have you considered UNC? Have you considered whatever, University of New Jersey or like Mizzou, like just a little loan counselor who doesn't work for whoever's giving you the loan to help people walking to these decisions with a little more knowledge.
That would be great. That would be really helpful for people, especially because the lack of financial education in our school systems, both public and private for the most part, is just terrible.
They'd be damn near lone therapists, right? It's like, okay, young Billy, I'm looking at your plan. Do you realize you're a financial masochist? Is this your kink? Yeah. What the fuck? I have a ball gag for you if that's your deal. It's cheaper.
Let me use my crystal ball. Ooh, I don't see a house or car in your future.
Like, look, I can ball gag you and fuck you in the ass, and it only hurts for 30 minutes. Your plan is 30 years. They need that's my style of financial counseling.
They need that.
Yeah.
And like the whole in-state, out-of-state. Part of it also is that we now live in a world because, the competition is so much higher with H-1B visas and things like that, that like college has become the new high school, and the rate of pay, or the rate of income hasn't matched the increase in college tuition. Like not even fucking close. I was looking at some chart the other day. It was like equalizing for hours, and it was like with 2,700 hours worked at minimum wage, you could pay for 2 years of college tuition in 1978. Same thing today. You need about 12,000 hours or whatever it was. It's an enormous difference. But the whole culture of you need college. Oh, you need to go to a cool school. You want to get drunk and do drugs and have fun, don't you? These are supposed to be the best 4 years of your life, right? And so I have friends who now will tell me, I think I might even mentioned this in the show before, because and I can even say back when I was like 18, like picking schools, part of me wanted to go out of state. So it was like, well, everybody I know is going to this school, is going to Mizzou.
I don't want my parents dropping by without notice.
Yeah, I want to be cool. I want to go
have
over
beer
here
in my mini fridge. I can't do that in the same state as mom.
and then, and I have friends who were like all like just gung ho about like out of state schools that weren't even better than the state school here. They'd be like, I have to go to Clemson. I'm going to Clemson. I don't care that it's $31,000 a year. It's a better school for this department, like marginally. And then I would even ask them, I'm like, man, that's crazy. Like, it's only 12 grand to go to, it's only 12 grand to go to Mizzou for a year, and it's 31 to go there. Like, have fun then, man. Like, I guess. And those people later, I talked to one of them like for the first time in almost 5 years, just a month or two ago. And he was like, yeah, that was one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made. One of the biggest mistakes I've ever made. And it was because I had no idea what I was doing. And people were more than happy to say, yes, 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 sign here, sign here, sign here. You're good to go. By the way, you owe us X amount of money and you're never going to make this back and you're going to be a slave forever. Good luck buying a house.
Sign here, sign here. It was also them providing an opportunity, but they needed the counselor that I'm talking about. Yeah. That's what they need. And I wish that people knew, if there's anyone listening to this who's going to apply for colleges this year, there are tiers of schools, right? At the very top, you've got your Harvards and your MITs and your Stanfords and such, and they do open doors. I've been I've hired a lot of people, and you see, like in comp sci, Carnegie Mellon is a really like impressive name, and it's like, ooh, this guy's practically hired before we start talking.
Oh, yeah. You get like nepotism points when you go there. You just show up in an interview. It's like, you went to Harvard. Well, our CFO went to Harvard, so tell everybody in the waiting room to fuck right off. You're in.
On the other hand, there's another tier of schools: UMC, Mizzou, Clemson, University of Indiana. I don't know.
State schools.
They're all about the same. People like it. Good school, check. And then there's another tier of school, the ones you probably don't know that well, like the William Pattersons and the Shippensburgs and stuff, that are just college, check. You are a college graduate. You are trained to do this job. And really, like, people spend a tremendous amount of money and time and concern about small variations in the same tier that aren't worth it. You should really work with whichever's cheaper. Whichever is the best value in that tier, go there.
Smart way to do it is 2 years of community college and then transfer to a state school.
Yeah. 4 years in the school is nice. If you're in a position where you can, it's not going to ruin the rest of your life after school. Did you pay for your own school?
No.
No,
I was very fortunate.
So I think it's really nice if you can go to Mizzou for 4 years. I would take that over 2 years of community college. But if I'm paying it myself, then tiers of community college is probably a good deal.
Oh, for sure. That would have been my thing.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely. Like, it's really, you're paying for the socialization, like, and the partying and everything.
Yeah. One might argue that
partially
even the education might be a little better at Mizzou than community college.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe not the most important topics, but
yeah, people will like go up about like, oh, I need to go to this school. And it's like, well, what are you majoring in? It's like business administration. It's like, well, you probably don't need to go to Yale for that. Like, you're going to get a similar thing. Well, Yale's actually a bad example with their business school, but you don't need to go to MIT for your business administration major. You can go somewhere else for that.
So I did a lot of mine at night. I don't often talk about this because I feel like it devalues my accomplishment, but my employer usually had some partial tuition assistance. So they would pay. I remember, I think for my undergrads, I think they paid for half a tuition. But half a tuition worked out to be about a third of the costs because they didn't pay for any books. They didn't pay for the fees, which were substantial. It's like, wait a minute, tuition's $5,000 and fees are $2,500 more.
Yeah.
Okay. But so that I worked like grown up jobs during the day, and then I had tuition assistance, and then I paid for it. That's how I went through school. But I do recognize that it's more expensive now. But
going through school, I remember in high school, I was like applying for all the scholarships and everything. And like, I got a couple like academic scholarships. And then, or I think I got one that was significant, one that was like hunky dunky, whatever the fuck. And I just like my 18-year-old self was like, scholarship, that means everything's cool. Like, it's just like it is in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Scholarship means you just hop on and go. And then you like see the amount you get, and it's like, what? That's not even half.
Dad, one of these grands was mine. I hope you appreciate what I did for you.
Yeah,
you're adorable, Taylor. Yes, I'll get the rest. But yeah,
it's just such a big commitment to get student loans, and it's a shame that so many people get trapped in it. But I do see your point about agency and all that, and that loan advisor thing really is a great idea. It's a shame they don't do that.
Yeah, and it would have to be done impartially, right? Like, somehow have them not connected to it. And a lot of times when people are impartial, they have to be biased because they'll lose their job, right? Like, if you're, I'm a big company and I make you sign something that says, we don't go to court, we go to arbitration. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's this arbitration company over there. If they don't rule my way in a fucking scandalous way, then I'm going to find another arbitrator because I'm bringing them business, and it's not fair. Arbitrators should be, but it's not. I feel like that could happen to loan advisor, but if they could find some way, it's my best idea so far. A little counseling before you take your loan out. Someone who says, why do you need $50,000 to live when tuition's $15,000? You're spending the extra $35,000 on living. A lot of college kids have 3 roommates in their little quad suite. You're the poorest person in America right now. You're a student. Think like that. So,
that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
You have a lot of that perspective because of how you went through it. And so it makes sense.
Anyway, PKN 262.
Yep. Skip a couple there. Yeah.
All right. Bye.